19 in the entertainment business, and I'm here with two amazing guests, Michael Melinda, Michael Sweet. Why don't you guys give a brief introduction to everybody? Michael Sweet. Oh, this is going to be a problem. I forgot about that. Okay, Mike Melinda, and Michael Sweet. We're gonna go with that for the interview. So Mike
Perfect.
Melinda, real quick, give everybody a quick intro.
I was the longest serving editor of Guitar Player magazine, 1997 to 2018. I just founded Guardians of Guitar last year, and I'm just trying to keep the evangelism of guitar noises out there and everybody happy. Done.
Wow, 97 to 18.
Yeah, I dodged a lot of bullets, that's for sure.
That's a good run, man. Well, good for you, brother. Michael Sweet here, Stryper. Brief run with Boston. Been around for a long time, man. Making music and loving every minute of it. Still going, still touring, still recording, and trying to figure out this COVID-19 thing like everybody else. And hopefully, I can be a light in the dark and try to inspire some people along the way.
Yeah, man. So like everybody knows that we've got a major crisis going on in the country right now. Well, in the world actually, right? And tours are canceled, venues are closed, bars, all the places where entertainers make their money are basically completely shut down right now. And people are suffering, especially support people. Like a lot of people don't even have the ability to quickly get a job. They don't have residual income coming in. It's a big problem. So like, what are you guys doing out there to Michael Sweet to deal with the all the mess here?
Well, we're doing our best to move forward with wisdom and do what we're told to do. I mean, I think the mentality at this stage of it's not a big deal and it's going to go away and who cares and we're going to go out anyway and we're going to enjoy life. It's pretty irresponsible. It really is. I mean, I was one of those people, a few months back as we watched it unfold in China and it started to, really take root and advance and get worse and worse. And I was one to think, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And now here we are faced with the situation of, cities are going into lockdown and people are having to stay inside and it's all for the long term, and for the best in terms of we want obviously to see this, pass and get through the storm and everybody be healthy and not see as many deaths as we may see and try to keep those numbers on the lower end of the spectrum. And in order to do that, it's really being smart and doing what's right. Not going outdoors unless you absolutely have to, or if you do have to go out, taking precautions. I've heard people say, I look silly in a mask, and I'm thinking, who cares? Wear a mask, wear gloves, wash your hands, keep distance, be smart, be careful, be cautious, and use wisdom. And we'll all get through this if we can all do that. So I'm really trying to do my best to do what's needed, and I'm here in my house right now, and we're staying inside. We had to run out a few times to get a few things, essentials that we needed, but other than that, man, let's all get better and get through this, and I know that we will.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I think one thing that it's really doing especially in the musician community is it's bringing a lot of people together. And like a lot of people in entertainment, it seems like they're too busy to hang out and talk and compare things. And maybe you go across people out on the road and stuff, but it's not like you don't get a lot of hang time with your artist friends from other bands and other places and stuff. So now now's an opportunity for us to all just kind of like sit around and talk about stuff and try to figure out, because this is not going to last forever. And when we do get past that peak that they're talking about, where the numbers of people that are catching it and dying from it start to go back down again, at some point they're going to open the bars up again. They're going to open up the venues. They're going to open up the, all the places, that the music festivals and, all that stuff. And people are going to be able to gather together again, so like, but
Sure.
now's the time to strategize and work out all this stuff and streamline, so that when it finally breaks, people can hit the ground running.
Absolutely. Absolutely, without question. And I mean, the more responsible we are, and the smarter we are in the way we deal with this, the shorter the life will be of this virus, and we'll be able to get back to some sort of normality. Is it going to be a few months? Is it going to be longer than that? Is it going to be shorter than that? I think that's all determined by what we do and how we handle this, and not just our government telling us how to handle it, but us as people being smart and using wisdom. And we all have a brain. We're all intelligent. We all know what we need to do, and we need to just follow that and just stay true to that. It's difficult because we're all workers. We all like to work. We like to get out there and stay active and do what we do, and that's the way of the world. And right now we're being forced to put that aside, so it's difficult. Our instant reaction is to want to go out and work and tour, and as musicians especially. I mean, I'm a workaholic. I mean, I just can't sit still. I can't stop doing what I'm doing. I'm constantly recording and constantly touring, so to have to stop, it's difficult for me. But yet at the same time, our health is dependent upon this, and it's such a, we've never seen anything like this, and we may not ever see anything like this again in our lifetime. And it's just crucial that we use wisdom as we move forward.
Yeah, I think that also we can't, you want to kind of fall into despair because your lives have been torn asunder by this virus. It's not, it's a whole different world than it was 2 or 3 months ago. But I think as musicians, it's kind of like that ship has sailed. We're locked in our homes. Our interactions with people are, as you said, Michael, we have to be responsible and not get people at risk sick or our families sick. But, I talked to some people just, over the phone, and, well, what am I going to do? This sucks. And it's like, well, yeah. You can write songs, you can do videos at home, you can keep in contact with your fans through many means, like what we're doing right here. It doesn't take an influx of capital to do a Facebook Live, stream to your fans. It doesn't take an influx of capital to sit with an acoustic guitar and start writing songs. It doesn't take, yes, you're not going to be earning any income for a while, but that's just the way it is. What we can do is, especially as musicians, is just, generate the joy of creation, which is why we're here anyway. Right. I don't think too many of us got in it because we thought we were going to be driving Ferraris. I think a lot of us got into it because we can't do anything else but make music to make people happy. And I would just say, man, don't stop that. Don't just freeze and do nothing.
Yeah, and to add to what you're saying too, I think it's important. Like for me personally, I'm working on an album. I'm still recording the Stryper album, so I'm doing vocals, but I've been laying low in terms of social media compared to what I normally do. And I'm not suggesting to other people that they do that. The point I'm trying to make is, for me personally, it's been kind of nice to do that, to kind of recharge and to reevaluate things, and to just have a little time away from everything to a certain degree, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, I think we're all going to emerge from this different, different people, and I think in a good way. Uh, you know, I've seen over the past few years heavily on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and social media in general, a lot of negativity, a lot of positivity as well, but a lot of negativity. And I think this is going to help to deplete that to some degree. I think everybody's going to kind of look at their lives differently, look at their neighbors differently, look at their friends differently, their family differently, and just life in general differently, their faith differently, so many things, you know, because we're basically being forced to just sit and observe and think about a lot of things that we might not take the time normally to think about. So I think there's a lot of good that's going to come from this.
I think that's a great point to, as you said, circle around what's important to you. You know, you don't, if you miss a Facebook post, you know, oh, I didn't do a Facebook post today. It's like, so who cares? You know, play with your kids or your wife or, you know, your buddy, you know, whatever. It's like, it's, because you're right. I think we are on a pause. So if creating stuff makes you happy, do it. If not, being involved in promoting your work for a while is going to recharge your batteries, then do that. And by all means, you know, we don't know how this thing's going to come out. Let's just treasure every moment with the people we love and respect.
So true, man. I love that. And those are great words. And I'm already getting that feeling and sensing that from people that I talk to. You know, the few people that I have, I've gone out in public and, you know, again, it's keeping that distance, you know, and just being real cautious and careful. But the people that I've talked to today on the phone, we had a little meeting, and it's all about that. You know, it's I think going to help us prioritize everything and what's important and what's not. And sometimes those priorities get out of whack when we're in a crazy hustle and bustle mentality, and you know, go 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 all the time, and you don't have time to even breathe. A lot of times you can't think about what's most important, and that priority list can get shuffled around. And in times like these, it helps you to really focus on what's most important and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. I went for a walk today in my neighborhood, of course, keeping my social distancing and all the things that we're supposed to do. But, you know, some fresh air, man, and sunshine. I needed it. You know, I just moved to LA in September from Virginia. It's kind of cold there right now, you know, and so, you know, I was out enjoying the ocean air, and I saw a lot of people riding their bicycles. I saw people walking around with their families, you know, walking the dog. But you know, everyone was kind of, when they would pass you, they would kind of separate a little bit. You know, like everybody's aware of what's going on, and they're, you know, everyone was smiling and happy though. And you know, it's kind of cool that this kind of reset that we're getting, because it's getting us back to. I mean, I witnessed it today. It's and the pollution in LA is getting way better. You know, the highways are absolutely empty. You know,
I know, man. Well, we've seen levels all around in China drop. We've seen water in Italy that's murky typically, and it's clear. You know, everybody stayed inside, and it's going to change so many things. And as weird as it sounds to say, so many things for the better.
Right.
Yeah. It's tragic to see anyone die. One person, to lose one person. It's tragic. But at the same time, when we come through this, and we will, we're going to see a lot of great things come from this in the process.
I believe that. I believe that 100%. You know, and so, and like you said, the key is to get through it as quickly as we can. And that's just kind of like, I hate to say this, I've worked for the government for over 25 years when I was in the military, and I worked for the VA for a while. Obey the government. Like, this is actually a time that, you know, I'm actually not scared to say that. Although I will say, you know, like not to get too political or anything, but like it does make me nervous that they've now know how to control the population. That's a little bit scary. That's the other side of that, you know, like the wrong person could definitely abuse that. So it's the checks and balances are important part of what
Yeah,
we
but
do here.
we've known that, we've talked about that and heard that for a while now in terms of chemical warfare and
Sure.
something like this being set loose on mankind, and
Right.
now we're experiencing it. It may not be in that way, but
Yeah.
here we are, in a situation where, you know, man, it's as serious as it gets, right? And we're happy. Our lives are being disrupted. Our lives are being changed. But you know what? I think I'm really trying to find on a daily basis the good in all this and stay positive and do so with a smile. And instead of something that I've really been on, really been trying to, pass on to other people through social media. And I don't know why, but it's just where my heart is stay positive. I'm really getting fed up and tired of the negativity that I see,
Yeah.
over someone watches a press conference and then you go on their Facebook page and there's just nasty stuff about this was said and that wasn't said. And can you believe this? And then all the people join in. And I'm thinking, man, now's not the time for that. It's
Right.
just not.
I think we have to give the government, and whether you're a fan of certain politicians or not. I mean, what would I do or you do? I mean, this is
Yeah.
unprecedented, and,
Yeah.
and mistakes are going to be made, and dumb stuff is going to be said, and smart stuff is going to be said because we have no idea how to deal. We're trying to develop this on the run, so to speak. It happens
Exactly.
quickly, and certainly there's no one around from 1918 to tell us, to give us a couple of, we've got history on our side and all that, but this is even different than the flu epidemic back then, and it's the whole bit. So, I give the government a lot of slack for dealing with it. And also, to Matt's point, it's like, you don't want a government to take over your lives, but on one level, I'm not at risk of losing my house or losing income at the moment. But I do recognize that, I'm at, Michael, you probably know, but the people who are your tour managers and roadies and just on down the line, people who work at bartenders in clubs or whatever, these people probably don't have 3 months of savings to deal with. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and they are absolutely devastated right now. And it's not like I'm putting this out to be negative, but if ever we needed the government to step in and realize that there are people that can't pay their rent, can't pay their mortgages, can't buy groceries, can't help their grandparents, can't help their parents. We do need to trust that they're going to come in and, no matter how expensive it is, allow us to continue in a way where a base level of just life is okay.
Absolutely.
I read something that actually posted about this that sent chills through my spine. That preteens are going, I'm considering suicide because I think I'm going to get this. I'm going to die, and this is the worst thing ever. And of course, that's incumbent on parents and friends to help support and rise people up, and not slip to those depths of despair. But it's a real thing. So, to the point,
it is.
I want the government to say, "We've got you." You're not going to you're not going to lose the ability to. We're going to make sure that if you have to go to the hospital, you'll be cared for.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it's a situation that we've never seen before. Any one of us, right? And it's affecting us. We had a meeting about it today. What we're going to do as a company, as a corporation. We have people on staff and we're talking about the financial side of things like anybody else, and trying to figure out how we're going to proceed and how we're going to move forward. And that's the thing. You have to keep moving forward. You can't just stop in your tracks and give up and say, okay, there's no hope, because there's always hope. It's going to be a tough road back for a lot of people. But you got to keep moving forward and making plans and following up, and dealing with everything, and whatever it is you need to deal with. If you're laid off, dealing with the unemployment side of things, looking into ways to get a break in terms of your mortgage or your utilities or your credit cards or what have you. And there's a lot more work involved, making phone calls and follow up and whatnot. But I do really believe that we're all going to get through this. It's just going to be a rough road. There's no question about it. But when we get through it and we travel down that road and we cross, we go over that hill and we're coming down and we're getting out of this, I think it's going to be a better world. It's going to be a better society. It's going to change our hearts, our minds, our views for the better. That's just what I believe. And some people might be listening saying, yeah, okay, whatever. But you know what? That's what I believe. And I hope that there are many other people that believe that too, because I really think that that's going to happen.
I hope you're right. I mean, we have an opportunity here to kind of hit the reset button on our attitudes, as you said, and be more positive than negative, and not, not be so reactive to opinions that are not ours. When you realize that, you have a grandma or a grandpa that might get this and pass away, or you've got kids you want to make sure are healthy, being right on Facebook about the government or your favorite politician, or even who your favorite NFL quarterback is. I think all that stuff should just go away, and you should just be nice and healthy, because this disease is not, this disease is crossing all lines. We're all at risk.
Yeah, look, I got a guy here already, and you're absolutely right, brother Michael. But I got a guy here saying, "What's with the sunglasses?"
See, I called that.
We're not 23 years old anymore. We're trying to save you. Well, at least I'm trying to save you from looking at my baggy old eyes. But there, take a look. But Michael actually, he needs those sunglasses for his health. So
Look, I could take them off for a second so you can see that I'm not on drugs. But what it is the light. I had cataract surgery a week ago, and the light, any kind of light, I don't care what it is, absolutely kills my eyes. So I've been living literally in sunglasses. I watch the TV with sunglasses on. I'm living in these things.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe this will. There, everybody. You can see my old ass face now. So there.
I kind of feel
I couldn't even see.
I don't have glasses on. Where's my glasses? I need some glasses. Well, okay. Hey, Michael, you got a lot of Stryper fans. A lot of your fans are here asking questions. You wanna answer a couple? I'll pop some up on the screen here.
I see one of my bandmates, Mike Kerr, is here. He's one of my guitar players. Amazing guy, amazing player. Yeah, there's a lot of people popping in.
Can you see the comments on the side?
I'm seeing the comments on the side. Yeah, it's a little tough to read them because of my eyes right now at the bottom. But I am seeing them. Yeah.
Here's one right here. I'll put the question on the screen. Bruce Presnell says, "When will the new album be out?" That's what everybody wants to know.
Well, it was originally scheduled to be turned in mid-April and to be released October, November. But with that being said, I don't even know. I'm working on the vocals here at my house, but once the vocals are done, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go to the studio, which is 2 hours away. If that's considered a essential trip, if we're in lockdown at that point, I don't really know what's going to happen, right? So that being the case, what would probably take place is the engineer, Danny Bernini, would probably mix the album and send me mixes. I would comment, send them back, and we would go back and forth that way via Skype. or just through email, sending me files. And then once it gets sent off to the label, which should be on schedule, no problem, it's going to be determined by the label, who is in Italy, mind you, whether or not they'll be able to release it as planned and as scheduled. I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot of variables and unknowns right now, but I'm hoping and praying that it can be released this year as planned in October or November. But that remains to be seen.
Hey, Michael, is there a difference between, since, I guess everybody in the band's recording at home and sending tracks to your mix engineer, is there a difference between, how you would approach the album, just all being in the studio together, to now having to kind of work on it separately?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we did record the album together. We were all, the way it worked is, or works for the Stryper albums anyway, is the guys come out here to the house. I write the songs. The guys come out here to the house. We go over the songs and fine tune them. And then we go to the studio. That's usually about a song per day kind of process to really work them out. So a few weeks. And then we go into the studio for a few weeks, which we did. This was back in late January into February. And we recorded 11 tracks over a 2-week period. And then we went on the cruise and we went to Mexico and we came home and I started working on vocals here at my house, which is the way I've been doing every album. I do it that way for a number of reasons. Number one, financially, it's much more, we're able to save money, not compromise quality at all, but save time and money doing it that way. And once the vocals are done, I go back to the studio and we mix everything. And the guys aren't there for that. We'll send out mixes and everyone will approve. So we're kind of in the middle where we record things together. Some things aren't done together. I don't want them here, the guys here, while I'm recording vocals anyway. They would drive me up a tree, if they were here.
I mean, that is awesome that your process really wasn't compromised at all by this. It's just the only thing is you might not be able to sit next to the engineer when you're mixing, I guess.
Well, exactly. And that may happen, which isn't anything really out of the ordinary. We've done that before, where I go to the studio. Usually the way it works is as I'm finishing up vocals, I'm sending him vocals. And he starts setting the vocals into the mix. And then he does that for 2 or 3 days. And then I'll drive out to the studio and spend 3, 4, 5 days there while we mix together. But we kind of mix as we go along. So what I'm singing to right now is pretty much 80, 85% there in terms of mix. There's a lot of effects already. The balance is pretty close to how it's going to be. There's not a lot to do other than set the vocal in, do some compression, do some fader rides, and just kind of tweak things, get a mix, drive around in the car, listen to it, come back and make some more adjustments, and that's it. So it's not like we're starting from scratch, mixing everything. Go ahead.
Well, I guess, that's awesome that your process wasn't really compromised that much, but I'm wondering, the film community, there's been a lot of films that were ready to come out this past month that have been held back. Do you think the same thing's going to happen in the recording industry, where you could deliver your masters on time, but the label might decide to hold back the release date? Or
It's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible. I've already seen Frontiers is the label. And I've already seen Frontiers make some announcements on social media about some of their albums already being delayed in release. It's unfortunate, but that's just for albums that were due to be released in April and May. So our album was so far down the line and down the road that I really don't know what's going to happen. I pray to God that and hope that everything's going to be back on track by that point in time, and there won't be delays, and we'll have a scheduled release as normal. October or November, but you never know.
Mhm.
What about the solo tour that you had scheduled with Tony Harnell? I saw that going out. Didn't you guys reschedule it to October or something? Or
Well,
wait,
yeah,
no.
we waited and waited and waited. We saw all these other tours rescheduling and postponing, and we were hoping we wouldn't have to do that. But reality's reality. We had to do it. And again, it comes down to using wisdom and being smart and doing the right thing.
Or it
We
was May,
certainly,
right?
yeah, it was originally May. We were going to go out for 3 weeks and do, I believe, 13 or 14 shows in May. That's been postponed now later in the year. And the initial announcement and decision was obviously a tough pill to swallow. You think, gosh, man, like any other musician out there, or anyone in the film industry, or anybody working a 9-to-5 job that's been laid off or whatever, it's human nature to want to keep moving and work and do what you do, right? That's what we're built to do, and you want to keep doing it. But in this situation, it's just not. It's not feasible. It's not reality, and it's not smart.
Hey, Michael, I can't, as a guitar journalist, I can't stop my brain working that way. Since we have a lot of Stryper fans on the feed, kind of excited for the record, without giving anything away, are there any tracks or was there any conceptual things that most excited you about going into the new album you might want to share with them?
Well, I mean, something that we always try to do, and myself especially, as I'm writing a song or thinking of production of the next album or the layout and sequence of the next album or what have you, is I'm always thinking about improving. I'm always thinking about taking it a step further and doing our best and outdoing the last. Does that happen? We try. The fans might not agree, or there might be a few that do and a few that don't. But man, we always go into every album with that mentality of, hey, let's outdo the last. And we went into this album with that same mentality of this is gonna be our best album. We're gonna outdo the last 3 albums, No More Hell to Pay, Fallen, Goddamn Evil. And have we done that? I think so. But it remains to be seen. Once the fans hear it and the critics critique it, I don't know. But I really feel, as I'm singing the material and I'm listening to the songs and I'm hearing this stuff and I'm getting jazzed up and pumped up as much as I can in what's going on around me. That's the other thing. It's difficult. Here I am having to sing with passion and excitement. And man, this is a new Stryper album, but yet I'm watching the news and I'm seeing everything that's taking shape and form around me, and I'm thinking it's kind of hard to get excited, right? But man, that's why it's so important that we've got to get out of bed every day with a smile on our face, plant our feet on the ground, say a prayer, and believe in faith that we're going to get through this and things are going to be better. And not only for mankind, but to answer your question, for Stryper, for the album. And we've got a great album here. We're excited about it, and we can't wait for it to be released. And that's going to happen.
Well, I know
it's just a matter of, go ahead.
Not only are you a great songwriter and singer, and you probably work, when you say better, you probably hope that your songwriting has evolved. But I also know that you're a huge fan of production. And was there anything that you looked at? Well, I'm going to make my guitar tone this way or that way, or did you do any evolutions of production of this between the last album and this one?
Sure, we're always trying to do bigger and better things in terms of the way we produce, the way we mic, the way we record, the way we layer, the way we do all overdub, everything. It's something we did in terms of guitar specifically on this album. Typically, we just bring in a couple of amps, we get our tone, and then we'll we'll multi-track with the mic in front of the cab, and there you go. This time around, we did the mic in front of the cab, we multi-tracked, layered everything, but we also incorporated direct signal as well through the 2 notes captor, and we were able to incorporate that direct signal with the mic signal, and work on the phasing a little bit to get everything lined up so you don't get that weird phasing and it thins out. But everything is just right in your face, man. And I'm super excited for people to hear it. I mean, everybody did their job and their homework in terms of the way they tracked and the parts that they played. Perry, Oz, Robert, myself. And man, it's really turning out to be a spectacular album, and I cannot wait for people to hear it.
Awesome.
Sold. And by the way, for all of you guys out there, I am like the #1 Stryper fan of all time. So maybe not the #1, but like I'm sure you guys are like up there too. But definitely, I've been a Stryper fan my whole life. So saw him 1988. Actually, Michael, I have a story. I don't know if I've told this on the air. When I was a teenager, I was at the Fort Wayne Coliseum, and I had my yearbook, and we were downstairs at this campus life event that was downstairs at this Coliseum for the Stryper. And so everybody had their yearbook, so I snuck backstage, and I was going to try to find the guys to see if they would sign my yearbook. And I'm standing there up at the fence. There was no guards there or anything, and I had my yearbook, and this girl was with me, and she just started hyperventilating, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" And there were 2 guys walking up the ramp, and I was like, "Oh, those are just roadies. Don't worry about those guys." I was trying to be the cool guy, right? And because it was actually Michael and Tim. They hadn't like gotten ready for the show or anything, and they were walking up the ramp, and Michael was really cool. He signed my yearbook, and Tim did too. And then I saw Robert was busy doing something. That was during Lion and God We Trust, White Lion Pride, and Mike Tramp was in the back. He was driving this little remote control car with, I think, the bass player. I can't remember. And Oz came out and saw me and kind of, it's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he saw I was just a kid, right? And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm just kidding, man." He said, "You want me to sign that?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro, it's cool." So I've definitely been a Stryper fan, and I sang my heart out that whole show. It was awesome. It was cool.
Oh man, yeah, those are some memories, buddy. We toured with White Lion, and we got into, I don't know why, but we all got into remote controls together, remote control cars. My brother wound up getting a helicopter. He was into the helicopter, so he was the odd man out. But we all had these remote control cars the kind that you build. So we would build them in the hotel rooms on our days off. And after a week or 2 of building these and painting them and everything, we'd race them around in the empty arena on the floor during sound check and before the show. And it was just something that took place, man, in shape. And we had such a good time with those guys, with White Lion. Those are some great memories. And also with the Loudness guys and the TNT guys. And we always had a great time on all the tours. Amazing.
Well, cool. Well, Michael, you got another question? Let me get one more fan question up here. How you doing on time, brother? Let's see.
This Michael Sweet?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good, man.
Okay. We'll see if we got some good questions here. Well, okay.
I got nowhere to go. I got no gigs to do. I got nothing to do, man. I got all the time in the world. If you guys
got questions, put them in the comments, and we'll pick the good ones and ask Michael here. So, well, I did see one that kind of interested me. I already know the answer to this, but go ahead, Michael Melinda.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
Matt.
I was just gonna say, somebody asked about if you're gonna do anything with George Lynch again.
Well, I've said this a few times, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I love George. I do. And George is such a great guy, and he's such a smart guy, and he's a brilliant guitar player. We all know that. But I don't know if I'm going to do anything with George again. I would like to, but I mean, it's a little bit of a waste if you put all this time and effort, or to not promote, or to not get behind it properly.
Right.
And give it the support that it needs. So that's the only way I would do another album, is if I know that everybody's going to really support it, and we're going to go out and we're going to tour and
Right.
take it live to the people. I mean, that's the only way I would do it.
Cool. Michael Melendez, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, based on what Michael said a while ago about trying to get the emotion. You've got the tracks, you've got your songs that you're excited about, but as you said, it is difficult sometimes, given the situation we're in, to get juiced up to really get into the songs. I'm sure a lot of creators are probably facing those same challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you take some time out? Do you tend to just keep rolling until you start finding your way through it and the emotion kind of comes back? What's kind of your process for making sure that you can kind of put all this stuff aside and deliver the vocals that you want to deliver?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's a balancing act. I mean, I'm on a schedule. I'm supposed to turn it in by a certain time. At the same time, I'm facing this situation that everybody else is facing, and it's difficult, to stay emotionally charged and positive and all that. The way I do it, I do the vocals here at my house, which is the same way for every album. And I'm able to go down, if I go down and sing, say, for an hour, and I sing through the song 2 or 3 times, and then I'm not feeling it, or I'm not feeling right vocally, or whatever, I can just shut the gear off and come upstairs and go for a walk, or watch something with my wife, or eat a meal, or make a cup of coffee or whatever, and escape that. Now, if I'm in a studio situation with an engineer and you're paying $1,000 a day, and you start at noon and you quit at 10 p.m., you don't have that luxury. You're not able to do that because you're on the clock, right? Here, I'm not so on the clock. So I'm able to figure out how to make it work. And sometimes I'll go down and sing a verse, come up, take a break, go down and sing another verse, come up, take a break. And that's the way I've been approaching the vocals in this situation as well. And it's working fine.
Mm-hmm. How do you kind of assess your performances? Is it when you get, the hair on the back of your neck kind of rises up, or are you very clinical about critiquing your own performances?
I am. I mean, that is the most difficult part about doing it the way that I do it, because it's just me. I have a little ISO booth down in my studio, and I stand with headphones, and I got a little foot switch that when I press that foot switch, kicks into record. When I hit it again, it takes me out of record. And I usually do 3 tracks. Then I'll comp those tracks to a master track. I'll pull the best from those 3 tracks to a master track. Mm-hmm. And then once I have that done, if there's things that are still bothering me, I'll usually take a break for an hour or 2, come back, listen with fresh ears. And whatever's bothering me, I'll sing another track and pull from that track. And then I've got 95% of the vocal at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And I just do my best to figure it out. But yeah, I tend to over obsess. I'm OCD. I joke about it all the time, but I guess it's not really a joke at some point in time. And then ADHD, I joke about that and try to make light of the situation, but I literally will obsess over one word. Mm-hmm. I'll sit there and sing a word 20 times. Because it's not quite right, the inflection or the air or the tone or whatever, and I'll keep doing it till I get it, and then once I get it, it's like done, and I'll move on. But I've literally spent an hour on one word. To be honest,
I think that's what surprised me about creators at your level. I think a lot of musicians tend to go, sadly, oh well, that's good enough, and whether you're famous or not. When I've watched Joe Satriani, who's an amazing guitar player, spend an hour on a melody that you would think, well, why does he have to spend an hour on that? He's Joe Satriani. You can play anything. But in his case, he's trying to achieve a level of phrasing that is extremely precise to what he's trying to get across. And I think sometimes musicians tend to give up a little bit early because maybe they're embarrassed. I mean, I think it's great that you say maybe you spend an hour on one word. I think that might help another recording musician out there and go, oh, I do the same thing. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I don't suck. I think it's important that we realize that you shouldn't just let okay go by.
Yeah, no, that's true. And in a situation when I'm just by myself, I'll obsess over a word, and then I'll find that when I'm in the studio with an engineer, my obsession isn't his obsession. So he'll tell me, "Man,
Right.
it sounds great. I think it's great. Let's move on." And then I'm willing to accept that because I heard someone else say it's okay. But see, when I'm by myself, it's difficult to do because it's just me critiquing it. So it's difficult.
Well, one thing I thought it was interesting that you chose Satriani. I read his book that he wrote, and he was talking about when back in the tape days, you had a limited amount of tape, and you
Yeah.
had to he said there was some value to just being of the perspectives like, look, this is all we got, bro. You got to get this right and you got to get it done. And now you could just obsess about it and just go on forever. And like, how do you balance that? Like you said, an engineer can help you do that, but like you can, and the other thing is we tend to fall in love with our songs and our art if we listen to them too many times. And so we'll fool ourselves into believing
Not
something is
me.
great. Yeah.
No, I get that. I agree, but not me. I never fall in love. I'm one of those weird guys. Maybe on my own here. I don't know. Where it's hard for me after the album's finished to listen to the album because I critique it. I can't just enjoy it. I'm going to sit there and take notes on, oh man, would have, could have, should have. And that's just the way I'm built, but I guess that's why that's what makes me me, and the method to my madness, I guess.
Well, I know,
it's
like
been interesting where I don't know if this is. I heard that Hal Blaine, the famous drummer who played on millions of hits in the '60s, the engineers would always, he'd walk in, do his part, 1 take, 2 takes. What do you want to hear it back, Mr. Blaine? Nah, and he would just walk out and never come back.
And you know what? He was probably a lot more at peace as a person because of that. You can drive yourself mad, if you over obsess over something. And I tend to do that. But I try these days not to do that as much as I did in the past. I did it a lot more in the 80s, at least I think, than I do now. I try to take the approach of, that sounds great. Not good enough. I don't use those words like, that's good enough. But more so like, you know what? That sounds great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not worth obsessing over, and trying to know when to move on and when not to. And I've learned a lot over the years on how to do that.
Well, and it is a balance because we all love those records in the '60s where the Beatles had a day to record their first record, 12 songs or whatever it was. There was, and we all hear mistakes in those records too, but we kind of love those boo-boos. Those boo-boos kind of bring a lot of vibe to the record. So while I'm not flying the flag for mediocrity, it is a balance between I got a deadline, let's get it done, let's not obsess. And to your point, or to Joe Satriani's point, but I still want to create exactly what I want the listener to hear. So I'm going to spend however much time it takes me to get to that point.
Absolutely. And, so many times as the artist, we obsess over things that just don't matter. What matters is the song, the song, the lyric, the melody, the harmony breakdown, the harmony layout. That's what touches people, not if it's perfected. And not if it's precise, but yeah, I mean, that stuff matters, but to a degree. But what really matters in the grand scheme of things is the song. That's what's going to move people.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I've gotten in trouble when I was editor of Guitar Player because people would say, well, I need this type of amp to get this tone, or what do you think about this? Is this fuzz pedaler okay? And there was a whole community of people who, you know, bless them, they were obsessed with tone. But my thing was always like, you know, if the song is really awful and doesn't touch people, you could have the best guitar tone in the world and it's not going to matter. And if your song is awesome and it affects people on a truly emotional level, you can have the thinnest, buzziest guitar tone ever and people are probably still going to love it. Once again, not that I'm flying the flag for mediocrity and you should put crappy tones on your record, but it really is about, I think sometimes we forget that writing an awesome, emotional, engaging song is really the foundation that everything builds from.
You're absolutely right, and you know it's important to remember that it's about the song. You have to compare it to like a foundation of a house, right? You could build the house on a really strong foundation and have a house that'll withstand any storm that comes its way, or you build it on sand and a weak foundation, and the first storm that comes is going to take it down. You know, you got to have the foundation there, which is the song, first and foremost. And if you have that, I don't want to say you can have a bad performance, but you almost could, and the song's still going to move people. But if you don't have a good song and you have the best performances around, it's not really going to matter in terms of moving people.
So here's my question. I'm a new artist. I kind of reverse engineered the music business. I did 20 years in the military. Then I got famous on the internet as a guitar player back in Google Plus days without like even have an album done. And now I started a podcast and I'm building an audience, you know, and now I'm trying to finish my record, right? So I have songs that I've been working on, but like as a new songwriter, like I write things and I'm like, I like that. And some of them move people when I play them for them, and some things that I play for them does not move people. Or my production style, sometimes people are like, bro, that's really good. And you know, like, how do you know? How do you know it's good enough to put out there, to put it on the record? Like, how do you make those decisions?
Well, I mean, if you have to, you know, separate some things, and one being, you know, you're the artist. At the end of the day, you have to be happy. It's your art. It's coming from your heart. So you have to be happy with the end result. And it starts there. And then if you're happy with the end result and you're a true artist and you're a good artist and you care about your art, it's going to move people. You know, it's just a given because it's going to be so good and so deep and so well done that people are going to hear it and go, wow. And you're always going to get better as you go and learn as you go. You know, your craft is always going to improve. And that's the mentality I have is, you know, the best, I always say the best is yet to come. And I really believe that. And people tell me all the time, no, your best was Soldiers Under Command, or your best was Devil with the Devil. And I say to them, not even close. Not even close. And they can think that and believe that all they want, but Michael Sweet will never believe that. I haven't accomplished my best yet. And, you know, that's the way I go into a project. And hopefully with that, I'm able to come out of that project with, you know, a better album each time. Maybe, maybe not, but at least that's the way I think.
And I like that.
When, you know, every artist, sorry, I talked over you, sorry. I think every artist is paranoid to a certain level, you know, showing their art to other people. I talked to Neil of Crowded House once, and he said something that helped me a lot. You know, all that stuff that you hate about yourself, you hate about your voice, you hate about your guitar playing, you hate about your songwriting, that's your style. So you should celebrate that because that's what makes you you and different. Having said that, when I work with other bands in the studio, I just think it's all about truth. You know, if your ego gets in the way and you're doing stuff because you want to be fast or you want to say something that maybe not be particularly true to you, but you think it's going to get you a hit or something, I think that the public on a certain level can see through that stuff pretty easily. So I think the main thing, if you're honest, I think you win.
Totally. I couldn't agree with you more, man. And it's like, I mean, I've contemplated as a writer dumbing things down, you know, and doing something so silly in terms of the hook line, or, you know, 3 chords instead of, you know, 6 or 7 or 8 chords, or, you know, just making things simple and blah, 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 because that seems to be what sells. I read an article not that long ago about how, you know, the average listener is at a 3rd grade level. You know, we like things that are simple. That's why a lot of songs, country music, it's cookie cutter. You know, you can, there was something on, I think it's on YouTube, where they laid 4 or 5 country songs over one another, and it was all the same song, basically. Same chord changes, same melodies, everything. And because that's what sells, you know, a certain level of music and style is what sells, what people want. They don't want 12th grade level. They don't want complicated. They don't want intricate changes and craziness. It just doesn't sell. And I've thought about doing that, but then I thought, you know, that's just compromising who I am and what I want to do. So I come more from the school of more chord changes and signature changes, and you know, making things a little more out there, but yet not so far out there that I lose everybody. And it's just how I am as a writer and what I choose to do. But maybe someday Michael Sweet will dumb a song down and do something that's real simple and silly in terms of the hook line.
Well,
who knows?
Like Ozzy just did that track with Post Malone, for example. That's kind of a different thing. You know, that's smart marketing. You've got a modern artist getting a lot of eyeballs, right? So he did that collab track with Post Malone. He's got a lot of heat from all the rockers for doing that, of course. Like, how have you ever thought about doing something like that? And is that kind of the same problem?
Yeah, I mean, we've done it to a degree. There's been a few songs over the years that we've done that were just real simple, and I don't want to say corny, but definitely not at the same level of most Stryper songs in terms of parts and whatnot. And we've gotten some heat for it. So it's you can't really win. That's why it's so important. Just follow your heart, stay true to yourself in your art, and everything else will fall into place. You know, don't try to be something that you're not. Don't. A lot of times I don't listen to other bands. Before going into a Stryper album, you know what I listen to? I listen to Stryper albums. I don't go and buy the latest craze and say, hey, let's listen to this band.
Let's modernize it. Yeah.
I just try to stay true to ourselves and who we are, and you know, do the music that do what the fans want. You know, I go on Facebook and I'll say, hey, what do you guys want on the next album? They'll say, hey, more harmony guitar solos, more of this, more of that. And we'll try to incorporate that into the albums and not alienate our fan base. That's important too.
Well, I think sometimes, I mean, I would never bash a commercial because, you know, it's difficult to make a living in the music industry. We all know that.
Sure.
If somebody's got a collaboration they could do or write silly, you know, simple song and it hits for them, awesome. You know, I'm glad you're making money doing what hopefully you love. But on the other side of it is that it is so just brutally hard to make any headway in this industry to sell enough records to keep, you know, to earn a good living at. And I would say once again, just getting back to that truth thing, it's an interesting thing that if you're a car mechanic or a writer or whatever, you might not have to deal with this, but we as musicians have that choice. It's like, I can be processed and commercial, or I can be true to myself, and I might not make it if I'm trying to be commercial because it's a risk. I might not make it if I'm trying to be myself. So there's your choice, you know, given the fact that it's going to be difficult no matter what you do. When you look in the mirror, which you do you want to see gazing back at you?
Totally. And it's funny because I'm reading a lot of the comments too, kind of, you can't tell with these sunglasses on, but I'm reading a lot of the comments while I'm listening to you guys. And Jody Holt wrote, why bash country? And it's like, you know, I don't think we're bashing country. I'm just trying to make a point that, you know, I grew up in country music. My dad wrote a #1 country song in 1978. And I grew up around country music. I was raised with country music. And when I look back on the country music of the past, it was a totally different animal. You know, not one song sounded like, there were no two songs that were the same. Country music, it was much more original and thought out and thoughtful. Nowadays, it's not. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's not Michael Sweet bashing, and it's just those are the facts. It's much more cookie cutter, and you know, I try as an artist to be less cookie cutter. I try to do things that aren't like everyone else, you know, and I try to stay true to who Stryper is, and we have a certain particular style, love it or hate it. We have a style, and I want to stay true to that. So anyway.
Well, I'm going to sound like a grandpa right now, but I mean, you know, when I started playing, the last thing you wanted to sound like was somebody else. The last thing you wanted to do. And I don't know where, I mean, I get it intellectually. The industry changed. The industry was looking to make sure that the industry supported itself and grew and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So now you have 7 different songwriters on a track and all that to ensure that you're going to have a hit. But purely from a musician standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to I think people,
you know,
when people get caught up in that corporate, you know, hey, we got to have a hit. You got to do this. You got to do this. Let's do this. I mean, I used to get that back in the days when I was with Benson Records. I took in my first album, 1994, in 93. It was just titled Michael Sweet, first solo album. And I remember there was one song in particular called JESUS. That's what it's called. JESUS, right? And I took it in, and the guy at the head of the table, the CEO, said, man, I love this stuff, but man, do you think you could get the name Jesus in there a few more times? And I just thought, and he said, because, you know, we'll be able to sell that a little bit better. And I just thought, wow, that's it, right? It's all a corporation and corporate, you know, music industry telling you do this, do that, and you'll have a hit. You got to, at the end of the day, you got to be yourself, do what your heart tells you to do. And whether you have a hit or not, you're going to be happy in the long run. You know, and that's the Michael Sweet approach. That's the way I've always tried to look at music and approach music and produce music.
Well, obviously you've impacted quite a few people. We got a crazy amount of people commenting, asking questions here. Everybody loves Stryper as much as I do, and you guys are probably, I would say, like my #1 favorite band of all times, honestly. So I'm really glad that you were able to make it on the show. You probably have influenced me more, actually, even in my personal faith life. You guys helped me out quite a bit. So just want to say thank you, Michael, and all of Stryper for doing that. I'll tell you a story offline sometime about that I think you might like. But do you want to answer any more questions? We're about in an hour right now. We're like 63 minutes. I'm good on time, but I know you guys need to get back to your families and do things, and I don't want to hold you hostage here, but I know you want to hang out.
I just want to say that's amazing to hear you say that, and anybody say that we've somehow inspired them or encouraged them along the way with the music. And what we've done over the years, and then I look back on what's been accomplished, and there's so much. You know, we had the first run from 84 to 91, and then we went our separate ways, and then we got back together again in 03, and we've had the second run with touring and recording, and this run's gone even longer than the first one. And you know, I would like to hope and believe that there's a lot more to come with Stryper, and our goal is always to inspire, always to encourage, always to make people smile, feel good, and realize that there's always hope, and there is. And that pertains to the times that we live in right now and what we're being faced with. There's always hope. You know, don't become hopeless. Don't believe the lie. Don't believe that we're not going to get through this and there is no hope, because there is. And I think it's important that, you know, everybody knows I'm a Christian, Everybody knows Stryper is a Christian band, that what we stand for and what we, sing about, and the message that we have always portrayed is real. And I believe that with my heart. And I believe it's important for us to say a prayer, a simple prayer, every day. Get out of bed with a prayer, go to bed with a prayer. And I think it's going to make a big difference in what we're faced with in the times that we live in. And that's it, man. I have nothing more to say than that, really.
Michael, do you have any closing comments? Michael Melinda? Thoughts, questions?
No, just that as I talked to Michael earlier, irrespective of the great Stryper fans that you have out there who are just music lovers, you were really, really awesome to the readers of Guitar Player magazine when I ran that magazine. It's great when you get an artist who's willing to share so much and so deeply about what they do. I've done thousands of interviews. Some, they've got their secrets. You were just completely open and sharing, from the point of how you wrote your songs to how you got your guitar tones, and to other guitarists aspiring to be like you or to be like your band, or even just to get better from a professional giving them advice. That was so important, and it was, I always appreciated the fact that you were willing to get out there and absolutely share your, your knowledge and your counsel with aspiring artists. I think that's a wonderful thing for you to be able to do that to people.
Well, man, yeah, no, I used to be more secretive in the old days with tone and technique and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays, I'm not at all. I give away everything and tell everybody about my secrets, if you want to call them that. The only thing I don't give away is hair secrets. What kind of hairspray I use. And I will never, ever reveal that. I'm sorry, but I just can't. I can't do it.
Well, I guess we'll have to soldier on without those secrets. but also, Matt, thanks for doing this. And it's amazing. I appreciate, Matt, what you're doing too, because I think that who you're having on and being able to encourage people through these kind of dark times, and
yes,
this is an amazing thing you're doing to give other musicians hope, and we can share ideas, and whether we're upset or frozen or figuring out ways to make this happen, it's just great to have the dialogue out there. So kudos to you for getting this series going.
And you guys that's so true. So true.
Yeah, you guys are like the extended part of my family. Like I feel a connection to all the Stryper fans out there. It's like we're all just spirits and body cars driving around, like trying to figure out what are we supposed to do down here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what color the car is. It doesn't matter what gender the car. All that matters is that we've got that spirit, and we're human beings, and we need to look out for each other. And I'm grateful. I'm sad that there's people that are going to die from this virus, and it's happening every day, and it's horrible. My prayers go out to the families, and it hurts my heart. But at the same time, it's also going to be a blessing, because it's going to help us to realize how connected we are to each other as human beings. And
absolutely, man. And that's the most important part. At the end of the day, above the music and above everything else is the love that we have for one another, and the care that we take in one another and with one another. And that's everything right there, man. So I think this is an opportunity for us to be reminded of that.
I agree with that, man. Well, guys, I think we're gonna call it quits. We did have another guest that's supposed to show up tonight, but we might have crossed some wires, so we're gonna look into that. Hopefully, get them on the next broadcast. We are doing these almost daily. I think tomorrow I might be taking off, although I have 2 people that might show up. If you're a musician and you would like to come on one of these panels, we can have 4 people at a time. So just reach out to me, message me, whatever. You don't have to be a rock star. You don't have to be like an A-lister or B-lister or C-lister. You can just be somebody that is affected as a musician, whether it's support personnel. Like last night we had Vinnie Paul's Drek. He was actually getting ready to go out and tech on the Lamb of God tour. For Lamb of God, and he's affected by that. There's all kinds of people in the entertainment business. You could be an actor or an actress, whatever. Just hit me up and we'll get you on the show, and we'll get you on one of these panels. We're going to do these almost every day if we can keep the interest up and keep people wanting to be a part of these discussions. So let's look after each other, and thank you, Michael Melinda, Michael Sweet, for coming to Kingdom of Rock podcast. And you guys are welcome anytime. Michael Melinda is going to be co-hosting a lot of these with me also. So
that's awesome, man. Hey, guys, thanks for having me, and all the people that are here on the side commenting and joining in. So many different people that I see. Thanks for joining us. Roddy Chong, you should get him on sometime. Roddy's obviously plays for Trans-Siberian, and Shania Twain, and amazing violinist, great person, great guy.
Yeah. I'd love to have
so many people here. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and God bless you guys. Stay safe, stay smart, keep praying, keep believing, and we'll get through it.
Peace.